Parent University, Portland Public Schools Forum for parents for engagement and learning on topics of interest to you. Tonight we have Starting at Zero, Thinking About Education from Birth, and we have a wonderful crew of panelists and speakers who are going to talk to you about this topic. We're going to start shortly with Superintendent Butana to introduce this topic. And I just want to remind people that towards the end of the session, we are going to put in the chat an evaluation. And so please complete the form as you are finishing the session. And I'll turn it over to Superintendent Butana.
Thank you, Grace, and welcome everyone. As Superintendent of the Portland Schools, I'm glad to be here with you tonight at this Parent University to focus on the importance of high-quality early childhood education. As an educator, I strongly believe that it's one of the best investments we as a society can make in our children's learning. We started Parent University, or Parent U, as we lovingly call it, to create a forum where our families can come together, learn together, and think about and discuss important issues about education and raising children. There are few topics more important for that type of discussion than what brings us together tonight. We've known for a while that early childhood education improves the social, emotional, physical, and cognitive skills of students and helps them with school readiness. We also know that it continues to pay off long after students finish their schooling. Many of you may have seen research that was released this past weekend that affirms this understanding with some nuance. In short, the research shows that investing in early childhood education can produce a significant return on investment in the form of savings to society. And those savings include reduced need for ongoing government aid, reduced health care and criminal justice costs, and above all, higher productivity and income as adults. I'm extremely proud that as a district, we continue to make good on the school board's 2019 commitment to grow the district's pre-kindergarten program over a 5-year period. Our FY22 school budget contains money for expanding pre-kindergarten with 2 additional classrooms. And for the first time, the budget also provides transportation for families in our community who would not be able to have their 4-year-olds participate in our pre-K program without that service. As you know, Starting at Zero, the film that we're talking about today, underscores the importance of a positive early childhood experience for students, even before they're old enough for pre-kindergarten. Quality childcare is critical for our many working families who desperately need that option for their young children. So tonight, we're pleased to bring pre-K educators, but to bring them together with people that work in that end of the sector, in the child care end of the sector, to highlight the interconnectedness of our work. I also think that it bears noting that we should all be pleased that President Biden's American Families Plan calls for investing billions of dollars in key early childhood initiatives that include child care programs as well as universal preschool nationwide. As a district, we just went through a budget process at the city level where the voices of parents made a huge difference in garnering buy-in and support from elected officials. So I encourage those of you who are here today and who care deeply about the topic of childcare and early childhood education to make your voices heard to our representatives in Congress so that they understand that supporting families through these types of initiatives must be a top priority for us as a nation. Quality early childhood education and childcare are some of the most effective ways to provide all families and children with the opportunity to realize the American dream. Before I conclude, I would just like to take a moment to thank our amazing staff here at Portland Public Schools, starting with our intrepid president of Parent University, Grace Valenzuela, and her and her indomitable team, including Maureen Clancy, and her parent and community specialists. We have Juliana Bean today with us, supporting us in Portuguese, and also want to recognize Nanette Dyer-Blake, who makes sure that all of our details are just so. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tara Williams of the Maine Association for the Education of Young Children, who will be hosting our panel tonight. So thank you everyone for coming to Parent University, and I know we're in for a treat.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Botana. I am really excited to be here, both because of the topic and also because of this really wonderful panel that we have tonight. I'm just looking around and seeing all of the amazing perspectives, expertise, and experiences that people who are here tonight have to bring to this discussion. So whether you've seen the film already, or if you might watch it after our discussion tonight, Starting at Zero explores some really important themes in early childhood education. Throughout the film, you get to learn about equity and economic opportunity. You learn about brain science and what we know about how children learn and grow. The film also explores what is high quality learning and how states and communities can take action around early learning. And there's some wonderful thoughts throughout the film from leaders in many states around how to move forward and improve what we do for young children. So I'm going to turn it over to our panelists and let them each introduce themselves and also share their reactions to this film and some of the topics that are explored in the movie. So let's begin with Sue. We'll go to you first.
Thanks very much, Tara. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sue Chevalier. I'm the Director of Pre-K Programs for Portland Public Schools. And I'd just like to extend a special thank you to both Tara and Heather Martin of Maine AEYC and to Katie Susie of Starting Strong for their collaboration with me and Portland Public School staff to make this event possible. I also would like to thank all the panelists participating, especially Anna Hicks, coordinator of Maine's Children's Cabinet at the Governor's Office of Policy and Innovation and the Future. So delighted, as Tara said, to be with you all. And I would say that the film in particular reaffirmed for me the critical importance of a healthy, high quality, accessible system of care for children, birth and older. And what we know from other states is that creating this type of system is possible. It's aspirational for Maine. We have lots of pieces in place where we have high quality care going on. And I think the film for me was inspirational in that it's kind of a template for what could be in the state of Maine. I will say that 4 quotes stood out for me in the film. I will name them and talk a little bit more later, perhaps, about why. The first is that there are children being left behind because of unconscious bias and because of equity issues. And that really resonated for me because we in Portland Public Schools are very much focusing on equity and removing barriers, part of our Portland Promise and our pre-K promise. Also that high quality is a process that doesn't happen overnight. It's something you need to work at. And so I think that's just instructive for all of us. We're all striving to continually increase the quality of the programming and services we can offer to young children and families. Third, we ought to put our children first in America. It's the morally right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do economically, as Javier pointed out, Superintendent Botana. And finally, our children are our future, and what we do as a state today will determine who we are as a state tomorrow. So that was not a quote from our state. That was a quote from the governor of Alabama, but that holds true for the state of Maine as well.
Thank you so much, Sue. Deborah, would you introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Deborah Flynn. I'm the director of Head Start and Early Head Start for the Opportunity Alliance, which serves all of Cumberland County. I hadn't seen this film, so I was really glad to have the opportunity. And like Sue, I found it inspiring in parts and really confirming. I think the importance of the first 5 years for folks in the field is something we really we know to be true. And so to see these state leaders really understanding and believing that in that and taking action was really, really inspiring and confirming. I also found the model in the film, they talk about a model in Alabama, and I found that really interesting. And it also left me with lots of questions because I wondered where the siblings of the children in the pre-K program were. I wondered where the younger siblings were. And I wondered if the teachers, if those teachers were getting cared for the same. And I wondered if those children were having the same quality experiences. So it left me with lots of questions. And I guess like Javier said, this intersection of sort of, you know, our public system and then our private childcare system. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's go over to Marcus.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marcus Houston. I'm a parent organizer with Starting Strong, and I also had never seen this film before, but I really enjoyed it. And sort of like what Sue was saying, it really reaffirmed the importance of affordable, high quality programs. And ultimately, like, I work a lot with parents, and parents really want what is best for their children and want to make sure that they're getting the best education possible and aren't left behind. And I think that this film sort of gives us a lot of ideas of like what we can do going forward, because that's not always possible in Maine. There are childcare deserts in Maine. So this really gives us a model to move forward. And I also really appreciated how the film sort of framed childcare has infrastructure, which is something that I believe personally, but the film did a really good job of talking about how childcare is a form of infrastructure and workforce development, and can be really beneficial for our working class families who, if they don't have access to these, lose a lot of income and have to often quit their jobs to provide care for their children. So I think this really leaves us with a good model going forward of how Maine can drastically improve its child care programs.
Thank you so much. Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah D'Amico. I'm the acting site director at Child Development Services. At Child Development Services, we provide special education for children birth to 5. I really felt, as other panelists have said, the importance of this film. I'm a huge supporter of early intervention, both with special education and with regular education. And Maine is fortunate. We have so many highly structured private preschools. I get to go into a lot of preschools with my job, but these are not always accessible to all of our families. These programs are often very expensive, and it creates really a sense of inequity amongst our children. So I really believe having a high quality public pre-K is so important to set up all of our children in our community for success. Another thing that really resonated with me in this movie was the involvement of parents. I think a parent is a child's first teacher. That's their most important teacher. And involving families in education, it's only going to strengthen our community, and it's going to create a village for that child. We know it takes many different people doing many different things to really give families that sense of security and give children that sense of security.
Thank you so much. Let's hear now from Bakita.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I would like to say thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. And my name is Bikita Sabino. I work at Talbot School. I'm in one of the EdTech at pre-K. I've been working in Portland Public School for the past 9 years with the pre-K, and I also work in Opportunity Alliance with Calder and Head Start. I'm here today representative as in parents and also an educator and also one of the parents who was an immigrant, and my children also went to Head Start and early learning. So watching the film, the overall is my perspective is that early childhood education, starting from 0 to 3 and 5, is very important because as a parents that lead children developing and social and emotional, developing self-esteem, and also developing how to interact with other, working together, solving problems. So the film's actually educated, if there's other parents who watch this film today, it's educated us how important is early childhood education is in our kids' lives. And also being as a mothers and aunt for 7 children, and also myself as an immigrant in this country, it was not an easy to get into pre-K or into our early childhood educations. And I'm here today to see if we can be able to educate our parents and get them involved to invest in their children from 0 to 5. And I'm hoping in the future we can be able to support families to get understanding the importance of early learning for their children in the future. Also, the film from Alabama is talk a lot about how to invest in children's life, and also talk about how investing in early childhood education, if children went to school from 0 to pre-K to kindergarten, so they have a future that finishing high schools and college and become good citizens. So I'm hoping we can invest in this more.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. Anna, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Anna Hicks, and I am the Governor's Children's Cabinet Coordinator, and I sit in the Governor's Office of Policy, Innovation, and the Future. And the Children's Cabinet is made up of the commissioners of a number of different agencies that oversee programming and policy for children. And we've set a goal of ensuring that all Maine children enter kindergarten prepared to succeed. And I was so pleased to watch the video and see the commitment across the country of leaders and their commitment to early childhood care and education. But I want to piggyback on something that Deborah said, that we really need to be thinking about the entire system, the birth through 5 system, and then those connections within the birth through 5 system to our K through 12 system. But one thing just to highlight is I think there has been over the last year a real shift and focus on the fact that we don't, as a country, have a birth through 5 system. We've been very focused on a kindergarten through 12 system. We've done a good job as a country building at the state level our kindergarten through 12 systems, and 12th grade systems, and we really need to focus on how do we build a system that's truly a system that serves families with children from birth through age 5, and takes our fragmented system that has wonderful groups of childcare providers, family childcare providers, center-based providers, public pre-K, private preschools, and figure out how to ensure that we have a system that really supports families and children.
Thank you. This conversation came up a lot in Portland over the last few years. And so I want to turn now to Mark, who has experience locally, to introduce yourself and share what you think about the film.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Mark Balfons. I'm on the board of the Maine Association for the Education of Young Children. I also served on the Portland School Board for 3 years, from 2017 to 2020. And during that time, I worked with the school board. We worked on expanding pre-K. And so, yeah, looking at or watching the film, I was looking at it kind of through that lens, and certain things connected with me because things that were in the film we talked about as a school board. Some of the things we talked that were mentioned in the film, wraparound services. In the film, they went into detail about nutrition, health exams, parental involvement, home visits. Another thing that stuck out to me from the film was pay parity between the pre-K teachers and the K through 12 teachers. And that's great. And those two things stuck out to me because during our discussions in the school board about expanding pre-K, we were concerned about wraparound services. We were concerned about things such as before and after care, because that way more people can take advantage of the pre-K classes. The other thing that we talked about was pay parity, because there was going to be a partnership, not only as we expanded within the district, but also with community partners. And so how are those partners going to be paid? An issue that we wrestled with. And so the highlighting what's going on right now, what Superintendent Botana mentioned, the plan was to expand 2 classrooms a year. And in 2019, we had discussed transportation just to see what we could do. And so I'm glad to hear that we finally got that in. So, just making pre-K more accessible to people. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's go over to Sasha to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Sasha Shunk. I have a nationally accredited family childcare in Portland. I've been doing that now for almost 18 years, lived in Portland all my life, been through the Portland Public Schools, and my children have too. So big connections in Portland. Kind of my reaction to the film was when they talk about all of the benefits of the social skills that children learn in early childhood settings. One of the quotes was, social emotional learning should take priority. It is the solid foundation. If children can regulate themselves, they can learn. As a family childcare provider, I'm interacting with parents on a daily basis, and often their concerns tend to focus on the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. So I really enjoyed seeing how this film kind of brought about the social aspect to light. And they had a few business people in the film talking about how those are what's known in the business world as the soft skills, the soft power skills, and children really learn them in birth to 5. And that's kind of the big takeaway, or one of the big takeaways I took from the film.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, Camelia, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I am Camelia Babson-Haley, and I am the director at Youth and Family Outreach. We're in downtown Portland, and we care for children ages 0 to 5 years and their families. We also, for the last 12 years, I believe, have had a public pre-K classroom embedded in our building and in our program. And so I watching the film, I guess I would echo literally everything that everybody else has already said. And just to add to that, one of the things that I'm excited about is the kind of national and local attention to early care and education, because I think probably everybody here has known for their entire careers how important and how critical this work is, and how we need to figure out how to publicly fund it so that we can equalize opportunities for everybody. But I'm really hopeful that this film will gain attention. And one of the things I kept thinking about is that this was, they interviewed many governors and our governor is, Maine is poised for this work because we have a governor that is interested and ready to invest. And one of the things that I took away was that Alabama didn't reinvent the wheel. They went out and they looked at Georgia and they looked at North Carolina and they said, what can we take from that and make, right for Alabama? And I'm hopeful that Maine will consider that as well, because there's already such good work going on out there and it's already started. And so we can take it from there. And then, of course, one of the big things, and a lot of people have already mentioned this for me was how they talked about engaging families, and that we have to do that in multiple different ways. And that if we aren't working together with the children and the families, we're not going to have as big of an impact. And so, whether it's home visiting or, family engagement during the day throughout the work that we do with children, it's so important to our success. So those were my takeaways.
Thank you for sharing. That's a lot. You all brought up so many interesting topics that we can expand on and share more about. I think right now it would be great to go back over to Anna Hicks to talk a little bit more about what you were just bringing up, Camelia, about the moment that we're in right now, what's happening in leadership in our state, the federal funding that's coming, and what some of our state leaders are announcing and planning to do with the funding. So Anna, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. So we are definitely in an unprecedented time. Over the last year, we've really seen a shift and real focus on investing in our early care and education system at the federal level. There have been obviously some significant struggles for folks working in the childcare field to stay afloat during the pandemic, for families to access programs and care for their children. But we have seen some critical investments, and most recently through the American Rescue Plan, passed in this spring, is bringing critical dollars into the state. And we are currently at the Children's Cabinet helping to shape those plans, and really looking at some key areas that I'm going to talk about. But I wanted to start by just talking about the governor's Maine Jobs and Recovery Plan, which there will be an investment in childcare infrastructure and public pre-K infrastructure. So just some mentioned, Marcus and others have mentioned that we know that there are areas in Maine where there are significant gaps in access to care for families. So we are making an investment of $20 million over the next 3 years. The first bucket of funding will go $10 million for investment in helping to expand our childcare slots. So that's helping existing childcare programs to expand their programming and providing grants to do so, or new facilities to start up. There will be another $10 million going to the Department of Education to help expand public pre-K. So that is programming, public school programming for our 4-year-olds. And right now, just to put it in perspective, about 80% of our schools across the state provide opportunities for 4-year-olds to participate in public pre-K, but most schools are not able to provide public pre-K for all of the kids in their district. And so about 50% of kids or less than 50% of children, 4-year-olds, are participating in public pre-K. We are hopeful that these grants of about $10 million will be able to help schools overcome barriers and also look at establishing partnerships with community partners like Head Start and childcare programs to expand public pre-K and ensure that we're really looking at the whole system. So as we expand childcare programming, as we expand public pre-K, how are we looking at our whole system of birth through 5? So that's the proposal around the Maine Jobs and Recovery Plan to really build and strengthen our early care and education infrastructure. And that was a key priority of the governors, is to look at where are the gaps and how can we expand programming for families. The other piece of funding that's coming into the state through the American Rescue Plan, there's actually a couple different pots of funding. There's about $120 million coming to the Office of Child and Family Services at the Department of Health and Human Services. And this is where the work of advocates, other stakeholders, folks within the childcare field over the last several years have been providing feedback to the Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services about where are the needs in our communities around early care and education. So we've built off of that work to build a plan that looks at 3 areas of focus. One being access to affordable early care and education and early intervention services. The second being about quality of our early care and education system. And the third bucket, looking at our workforce, ensuring that we're able to recruit, prepare, and retain a diverse early childhood workforce. These are all critical pieces. And I'm just going to talk a little bit at a very high level about a couple areas of the investment that we're making with these federal dollars. And the biggest pot of funding is really going to stabilize the childcare industry, and continuing to provide grants to childcare programs that are on the front lines, really providing critical care and education for our families, and ensuring that not only we're supporting those folks who have been struggling during the pandemic to keep their doors open, but also supporting the workforce. So we'll provide funding to childcare programs to be able to provide a bonus to their childcare staff as well, educators in their programs. So that's just a big piece of funding that we'll be getting from the federal government will go to help support our childcare industry and ensure that it is strengthened over the next several years. Some other pieces just to focus on around access. Many parents actually are not familiar with our childcare subsidy program, which provides critical help to families to be able to pay for childcare. And just to put this in perspective, families are eligible for the program up to what's called the 85% of the median income in the state of Maine. And what that means for a family of 3 is that for a family of 3, yeah.
Anna,
am I going too fast?
A little bit fast. Okay. Just take a breath. Let's just.
Sorry, that's typical. It is difficult. Really fast. And I'm giving a lot of information. So just quickly on the childcare subsidy program.
Oh, hold on. Juliana was taking a sip of water and now she's ready to start again. You can go.
Okay.
Are you okay, Juliana? Okay. All right. Thank you, Anna.
Sure. So a family of 3 making up to approximately $64,000 per year is eligible for the childcare subsidy program. And one of the steps we're taking is to waive all parent fees through the next 3 years to ensure that families can access the program and get the help that they need to be able to pay for childcare. So the childcare subsidy program will help families pay the full amount for their childcare as long as a childcare provider is taking the childcare subsidy program. So that's one big piece, is waiving that parent fee to ensure that parents get the help that they need to pay for care. Another thing we've heard a lot about around access is that families really struggle to navigate our early care and education system as well as our early intervention system. And so we will be starting a new program called Help Me Grow that will provide a centralized place where parents can go to get information about their child's development, to get information about programs that their children might be eligible for, and get that real assistance in navigating and understanding a pretty complex system, and be able to get that help that they need to access programs. And then on just a couple other pieces, one very important piece of the proposal is to support the professional development of our workforce. There will be funding to ensure that folks in the field can get coaching and professional development support, as well as training on key pieces of our Maine early learning development standards. And also we will be providing other professional development around parent engagement and a number of other areas. And I believe, I don't want to go into too much detail. Just one other last piece. There will be help to provide incentives for folks who are running childcare programs to get the funding they need to help improve their quality and to provide that support for childcare programs. So those are just a few areas. Again, this is a significant opportunity and investment in our childcare system. The American Rescue Plan is actually the biggest investment in childcare that we've seen at one time since World War II. So it's a significant opportunity for us to really be investing in supporting and expanding our early care and education system.
Thank you, Anna. I know a lot of parts to that plan and how it supports children and families and the teachers and staff working in childcare. So thank you for helping us to hear some of those details. I'm wondering, Sue, if you might like to kind of build on that in speaking a little bit about current highlights of what's happening at a local level and opportunities that you see in pre-K and early childhood.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And thanks, Anna. That's so encouraging to hear all of those exciting things that are to come. I will share just from a Portland Public Schools perspective, and Superintendent Botana spoke to this a little bit before, but we're just delighted to be in the middle of our 5-year pre-K expansion plan, which is an equity initiative, in which will continue to expand the number of pre-K seats available. And really critical to that is continuing to collaborate with our high quality and beloved community partners so that we can provide a mixed delivery system, meaning that not all of our pre-K classrooms will be housed within our schools, but some will be housed within our community partner sites to best meet the needs of our children, our families, and our community. We're really fortunate to be able to partner with longstanding high quality programs in Portland and truly recognize their value and appreciate their collaboration. And I will say it's not always smooth and easy because systems are different. Department of Education, Department of Health and Human Services, and regulations are not always matched. So there's a lot of goodwill, I would say, on the side of our community partners to make the community partnerships with Portland Public Schools viable. So just appreciative of that. I also will say, as Superintendent Botana spoke about, we're really thankful that we will be able to provide transportation to pre-K students who need it for the first time ever. This has been a long-term barrier for accessing programs, and we're really happy to be able to remove that barrier. Again, I think it was Mark who spoke about some of the challenges. I think the pay parity challenge is real. We have pre-K staff who are embedded in community partner sites who are paid on a Portland Public Schools salary scale, and their next door neighbor is not. And that's really a challenge and an issue in the field. And we also are very cognizant that a barrier that we're continuing to strive to remove is providing quality before and after care for working families, because having a free 4-year-old program does not help you unless you work school day hours, right? So we need wraparound care. That would be, for me, a visionary move to think about how can public schools and community partners collaborate to best use the slots that we have to enable working families to take advantage of them. I haven't puzzled that one out yet, but I'm going to keep trying. So that's my comment on the local situation for now.
That sounds great. I'm wondering, Mark, if you'd like to build on that at all and what either you've seen in your experience working in the area around challenges and opportunities or hopes that you have for where things will go in early care and education.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the issues that we were just talking about, right? It's all about getting access, making sure that we can have the students who want to attend be able to attend. And as we move and work towards that goal and reach that goal, there will be, challenges that we face. One of the things that's on my mind is, as we do this, how does it affect the ecosystem of daycares and pre-K, private daycare and private pre-K? Because Superintendent Botana had used that term, ecosystem. You change one thing here, what's the effect? And that's something I know the school district is mindful of, and being in contact with community partners. But that's something that I'd be interested in, and to continue to watch, just because it all works together.
Thank you so much. We have, I think, something that was just shared may have brought up a question from the group. And so I just want to, from one of our participants, allow that to happen so the person doesn't forget their question. All right, Juliana.
So we'll have to let the person I'll ask Lourdes to raise her hand. We'll call on you. She'll read her question in Portuguese, and I will do my best to translate it. Or Juliana will have to help me and type it in.
You want me to allow her to talk, correct, Maureen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Here I go. Lourdes, you can speak now.
It looks like I don't have the capability to help her unmute, but maybe somebody else does.
I don't think.
Alô?
Yes, there she is. Hello.
Sim, conseguem me ouvir? Sim. Boa noite.
Good evening.
Ok. Ok, tá bom. Boa noite a todos. Muito obrigada pela oportunidade que estão a nos dar desse novo programa. Eu tenho que agradecer à comunidade de Portland, que ajuda muitos imigrantes. E aos professores de Portland pela oportunidade que eles dão a essas crianças que vêm sem saber falar a língua inglesa. E a minha pergunta, eu queria saber das crianças que têm 5 anos que não apanhem base. Por causa eu gostaria de saber se é por causa da idade ou por causa da classe.
Juliana, ask her if it's 5-year-olds or 4-year-olds. She's asking.
5. Ela tem 5 anos.
Okay. Okay, so to the panelists, the questions are, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I thank Portland Public Schools for their help with the immigrant students and the teachers for all the help they do. My question is, for the kids who are 5 years old, can they not take the bus because of their age, or is there another reason?
Lourdes, thank you for your question. Who would like to answer that? I'm thinking Sue, maybe?
I'm going to try. I guess I need a little clarification. Is this a student who is attending kindergarten?
Ela está na pre-K.
So the student is currently in pre-K? Yes. So that
currently the student is in pre-K. Is
yes.
that the question?
So the student has turned 5 during
in this year's pre-K classrooms. We are not providing transportation, but next year we will be.
And we so wish we could this year.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Mark, and also Sue, just about addressing those barriers that may prevent families from accessing early childhood education and public pre-K. And so it is very exciting to hear that you're going to be able to do that next year. I'm wondering if, Bakita, you'd like to share any thoughts that this is bringing up for you around what's currently happening in Portland Public Schools pre-K and some of the opportunities that are ahead in supporting families in early education.
Oh, thank you. I would like to say that what I'm seeing right now in Portland pre-K is giving a lot of opportunity for other parents, as we just noticed right now. She's asking a question about transportations, and there's a lack of information because of when we do like information out, other parents don't get the full information about it. But this pre-K program in Portland Public School right now is giving opportunity for a lot of parents to start working, and I would like to see that next year because of being in my internship last year working on tablets. So I got a lot of phone call asking if, okay, I got accepted for PK. Do you guys have transportations? And we say, no, they can't get the kids to school because they can't provide transportation for the kids, or they don't have transportation, or they can drop the kids off and go to work and come back. So, and I'm glad right now we are going full days. Like last year before the pandemics, we are full days, and a lot of parents was able to take a chance and get the kids to pre-K, and they was able to go to schools. And I communicate with a lot of parents like, yeah, this is great because they can drop the kids off in the morning and go to work or go to class and come back and take them. And I feel this is a great opportunity, and especially for like our ELL families. They can take advantage of that and be able to go to work and do other things while the kids are learning. Myself, I was a parent 21 years ago here, and my kids was get opportunity to go to pre-K, to Head Start, and also there was aftercare program for them. So as earlier I heard about, there was the fund that supporting family who cannot pay or afford to pay child cares for their children. And there's a program that will help parents to, there was a fund that's going to help parents to pay for aftercare and before care. So I think that's a great program, and that will help a lot of families, and also like for them to invest in their children's education.
Thank you so much. Sarah, did you want to build on anything you've been hearing from panelists, or add in new thoughts around early learning and supporting families?
Yeah, I think coming from the special education field, I often hear from families, my child's not ready for preschool. My child's not potty trained. My child is hitting. My child's not talking yet. They can't go to preschool yet. And what Child Development Services does when we partner with Portland, and we work with Opportunity Alliance, and we work with so many schools, is we make sure what we tell families is your child doesn't have to be ready for school. The school has to be ready for your child. So we need to make sure if your child needs a speech therapist to help them with speech, we need to provide that. If they need a smaller ratio So that means if instead of having 10 kids with one teacher, some kids need one teacher just with them while they're learning these skills, that we're going to provide that. And it can be a really scary process for families to go through, and you have to have evaluations, and it's a lot of people doing tests on your child, and it can be really scary and it can be intimidating. So I think it's really important, if we have these high quality preschools that already have this good rapport with families, that we can help to explain what special education is, and that we're here for your child and we want them to be successful in any setting. We want them to be with their regular education peers. We find some children, to start, they need to be in a smaller setting, and we would provide that and the state would pay for that. So just kind of helping parents to understand that special education process and partnering with these regular education preschools is so important.
Thank you for that. I'm thinking just about those ideas that we sometimes have, and I'm a parent of two kids as well, about being unsure if our child's ready for something. I want to turn it over to Sasha as one of the folks who also works with children from a young age and just has that experience, to add anything you would like to this conversation.
Well, when we're kind of talking about what I see happening on the kind of the local and state level, as a family child care provider, we tend to be left out of the conversation. So I am ecstatic that I'm here talking with everyone tonight, as well as having the opportunity to have discussions at the state level. Recently, the Department of Education reached out. They want to be able to try to help local municipalities work more broadly with community partners and include family child care when talking about public preschool. So, I just am so glad that we can start having these conversations. To me, I always kind of view preschool as an age, not necessarily a program, because the children in my care, I am their teacher for literally 5 years, from their birth all the way up to age 5, and they go off to kindergarten. So those are some of the exciting things that I've seen starting to happen.
I'd love to hear what you might like to add to that, Camelia, and then we're going to hear another question from Lourdes, and I did not forget about you, Marcus, so I know that we have more to hear from you. Camelia, would you like to expand on what you've been hearing across the panel tonight?
Sure. I think one of the things that keeps kind of percolating a little bit is the conversation around quality. And I'm really excited to hear Anna talk about that being part of the governor's plan in helping childcare centers increase their quality, because one of the things, and this goes back to the Starting at Zero film that I took away from that as well, is that all children should have access to affordable, high quality early care and education. And it's not cheap. It's not inexpensive for childcare providers everybody wants to do it and everybody wants to do it right. But it sometimes comes down to affordability. If you want a teacher with a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, you have to be able to pay them. If you want to be able to evaluate your program with the class assessment tool, it costs money. If you want to be able to have coaches embedded in your program, it costs money. And all of those things build on quality. So I'm happy to hear the conversations around the table about helping providers, giving the assistance that's needed in order to make that happen, so that all those children that are going to these programs have equal access to an early education experiences.
Thank you. All right, we're ready for the question. If we can make sure that she can come back in and ask aloud. Welcome back.
Juliana, eu gostaria de dar uma opinião minha aqui, não sei se... eu conheço muitas crianças smart na matemática e gostaria que revessem se poderia explorarem mais as crianças em termos de jogos ou ver competições nas escolas. Balé. E aí, música. Sim. Explorarem mais as crianças, nem porque tem muita criança smart.
Okay, so the question is, I would like to know, many of our students are very smart in math. I was wondering if there are more ways to explore competitions across or between schools in math subjects for our students.
I knew I heard math in there. Would someone from Portland Public Schools like to
Did you guys hear me?
mention what's happening in math and ideas for moving that forward?
I can take
Go ahead.
a stab at that. Is that a early childhood related question? In which case I cannot take a stab at it, but otherwise I might.
Sim. Juliana, então eu gostaria de saber, nessas atividades extras, os pais poderiam pagar os professores tipo de dança, de balé, de matemática. Acho que é um incentivo para as crianças. Sim.
One of the things that Juliana wrote in the chat was about seeing more interaction and competitions between schools in various areas. So math, ballet, music.
So what the question relates to is, yes, pre-K and elementary age students, and she's particularly looking at extracurricular activities, so things beyond the school day that could be academic related, like math competitions or other programming for students after school.
That's a great question. Do you want to start, Superintendent?
Sure. There are a lot of activities that happen in our schools after hours, extended day opportunities through the schools themselves. They have clubs of different kinds that are run by teachers and that teachers are paid to coach. And so if there are specific programs, I don't know which school or schools Ms. Lourdes has children at, but I would suggest that Juliana, maybe you can help to connect her to the principal at that particular school to explore some of those opportunities. We have a number of them. There are also competitions across schools on things like math. I don't exactly know which, what grades and what those activities are, but I do think that with Juliana's help, you can get connected to activities after school for your children. I don't know that we have much in the way of inter-school competitions for early childhood, but Sue, I don't know if you want to fill any gaps there.
Sure, thank you. We do not have inter-school competitions in pre-K, although I do know that at the elementary level, there are multiple schools that have math teams and they participate in math meets across other school districts. So that's certainly something to aspire to after the pre-K year, especially if math is a strong interest.
Wonderful. Thank you for the question. And we'll be opening up to more questions soon as well. I did want to see if Marcus wanted to add some other thoughts from what you've been hearing so far tonight around supporting families and high quality early learning.
Yeah, sure. I think Sasha brought up a really good point about like whose voices are like at the table in discussions surrounding these programs. And like in my work, I hear a lot from parents that they don't necessarily feel like their voices are always heard in discussions surrounding early childhood programs. And so I think it's really important that we do our best to elevate parent voices and provide them with the tools to advocate at the local and state level around these certain issues. And I think that any way that we can create spaces for them to do that and feel comfortable doing so is really beneficial for the overall, like our overall work around this, around early childhood programs and so on.
Thank you. And Deborah, I was thinking about you in terms of all the work that the Opportunity Alliance does to support children, but also taking a multi-generational whole family approach. So you may have other things you want to share, but there was an interesting question that came through that I just wanted to pose to you. It's from earlier tonight. One person asked, with all of the federal funding coming in and proposals happening here in Maine and federally, we have a once in a generation moment to reimagine early care and education. What big, bold ideas do panelists have to create a system for children and families? I'm thinking you might have some thoughts on that.
That's funny. That's what I was going to, actually exactly what I was going to say. I think what Sasha said, and to build on Marcus's parent voice, I just envision a system where, every child and every family has different needs. And I think, there's a family where Sasha's program is just right for them. It provides a longer day. Their siblings can be together. It's small. The numbers are small, right? And there's a family where pre-K is just the right match. And for others, Head Start might be, or Camelia's program that provides a different kind of experience. And I think our system has to provide each family with a choice, and you shouldn't, your income or your ability to access shouldn't impact the kind of match you get for your child and family. So I think I would envision a system where each family gets what they need and has the support to pay for it. I think equity has to be at the heart of whatever system is created.
I saw a lot of nodding. Do we have anyone on the panel who wants to build on that answer? What big, bold ideas does this wonderful panel have?
I'll just share that I think, what Deborah said, right? There's the right fit for every family. But I think it's not just the children, it's the parents too. And individual parents have different needs. And how can we offer a suite of supports and information and opportunity for building community amongst the parents as well, because I think often we forget that all of these little people are connected in a system outside of the building in which we're serving them. And so I think that would be my big, bold hope, is that we're not just thinking about the young children, but thinking about the whole family unit and how we can best support everyone.
I just think it's...
Go ahead.
as what Jesu say and Marcus say, is going to give a lot of opportunity and open a lot of doors for a lot of parents who are sticking home with 3 years old and cannot afford to pay childcare. They cannot afford to drop off and pick up kids due to other siblings, other kids at home. So I think providing transportation and giving more time for children to stay and a longer stay for them, that will open a lot of opportunity for a lot of parents to get their kids at school. As other parents, like 3 years old cannot go to school, I think that will open their eye to come over to register their kids, to let them go to school, to learn, and also giving out the information for parents. I hope all the resources and all the part of what we heard today, I'm so happy and excited when I'm hearing about all the fun and the support and the program is going to put in place for early childhood. I'm so excited because when the word go out, everybody probably will change a lot of families' life.
Definitely. I noticed her hand is down now, but Christine from our attendees had a question. So I want to give her a chance if she'd like to ask her question. Hi,
Hello.
Christine.
Hi, my name is Christine. And my name is Christine Bioga, and first of all, I am a mother of 4. And a second, I am infant and toddler educator or a teacher, if you call it. So I work in a daycare. So I am so happy, and you can imagine how all this come in now and helping the childhood to succeed. And I'm really a person who advocate for early childhood, because everything, even a plant, starts from the root. So that's, if you don't support your kid when they're still small, it's hard for them to grow up very well. So my question is, as a mother of 4, so earlier my kid was in my 4 years old, I supposed to put her in how you call it, in lottery for her to be accepted in a pre-K, because she goes with me where I work, and then I have to pay 50% because I work there. So I was looking away where she can be in a public school. So I did the lottery, and she get in, but there was no the after school program. So I have to leave the spot and then just leave where she is. So my question is those programs going to start this year or next school year? So that's as a mother, and as a teacher who works in a daycare, all those funds, is it going to help also the worker, the person who work in a daycare? Those teachers who take care of the kid, is the fund is going to help them raising their raise or having those benefits as everywhere they go? Because people leave that job because there is no any support. They would rather go work at McDonald's or somewhere else where they pay more, or they have at least an insurance. Is that fund going to help also the childcare workers? And thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine. You brought up so many important points in your comments and question, and I think really highlighted how interconnected the world of children and families and early childhood education is. I'm thinking just, you work in a childcare program, kids who are of the age to be in childcare and pre-K. And we've heard, I do a lot of state level work, and we hear this across the state, that when we publicly fund pre-K, but it's not available for the hours that parents work it creates a barrier. And I was very pleased to hear over the last few years that this was a part of the conversation in Portland and a key in a lot of the expansion that's happened. I don't know if who would like to jump in on this one. I saw a lot of heads nodding. Sue, did you want to start? And then we can see who else might like to talk about after school and wraparound for families.
Sure. And certainly Portland Public Schools is very aware that transportation and wraparound care are huge enablers for working families to be part of our public pre-K programs. So as you heard earlier, we're really excited to be able to start offering transportation this coming school year. We are not yet positioned to offer before and after school care. It is not for lack of interest or desire to be able to provide it. It's very complex. And one of the systems issues that has become somewhat of a barrier is that in order to provide before and after school care within the same buildings with the same staff that run the pre-K classrooms requires childcare licensing through the Department of Health and Human Services, whereas our public pre-K programs are under the Department of Education domain. And so it is a great example when I talked about some disconnects earlier, systemically, of making it very challenging for a public school system to have to go through a childcare licensing process when we're already running high quality and approved, if you will, programs during the school day. So it's something that we have raised as a potential consideration as we try to move forward to provide before and after care in Portland Public Schools, because we know there is a big need. And just like we heard earlier, families declining slots because of no transportation, we know that families decline slots because of not having wraparound care. And we're working really diligently to try and remedy that, but it is not a quick process.
It also reminds me of back to when you were speaking, Anna, about one of the great parts of the new funding that's coming in to help people expand pre-K, to help school districts do that, is also to allow them to build more partnerships with licensed childcare that is often open for longer hours and has that often just embedded in the model. So I was just thinking back to that as well and how that can be a great opportunity. Sue, it looks like you wanted to add something. There you go.
I was just going to say, I'll jump in and say that we're really fortunate that we have 3 public pre-Ks that are housed in community partner sites that do offer wraparound care. But that certainly does not meet the need of the families that would like to have before and after care. So when I talk about needing to continue with the mixed delivery model, for now, that is our opportunity for before and after care, because we can't yet provide it within our elementary school buildings. But we're working diligently to try and solve for that barrier as well for all families.
We have a question from Venusa.
Yes.
Welcome, Venusa. Hi.
Hi. Good night. Thank you so much. My name is Venusa. I'm from the Angolan community. And then my question tonight is, how is going to be for people that English is not their first language, having access to all this program, knowing that sometimes it's so hard for them to be communicated with what they need for their kids. And also, if all this funding, if they're going to provide extra help to hire people that they either are bilingual or they have the skills to attend and work with those kids. Because in our community, still a taboo. If a kid goes to a school, is not by train. If someone the teacher goes and say, your kid needs extra help for this and that, they might feel, oh, my child has a problem, and they don't see that it's part of the development and they need help. And then also how to hire more people so they can have more interaction and they will see that their needs are met. If in this budget, if there's money available for people that English is not their first language, to have more help, to have access to those subsidy programs, or to have their kids more into the system or everything, on how this beautiful, good things are happening, are they going to be translated in every single language so they will know what is going on? Because I talk with a lot of people, but they don't know what is available for them, and if their kids will go have someone in the daycare system that understand their kids' needs and know the perspective of what is going on and what all the good things are happening. This is my question. Thank you.
It sounded to me like that question may be helpful to answer in two parts, both what may be already available or planned for Portland Public Schools and pre-K within, but also thinking about community partners and how to provide support for multilingual families. So I wanted to start by seeing who might like to answer related to the school district.
Sue, do you want to talk about what's planned? I mean, what we currently have in place around that, and also what's planned for this year in the budget? And then Grace, you might also want to, or Maureen, you may want to also talk about, some of the supports. I mean, obviously, to give an example of it, we have somebody here today who is helping us to interpret in Portuguese, because we knew that there were Portuguese speaking families that were going to be here. So that was part of our outreach, and it's also part of our communication plan. But Sue, do you want to talk about the ELL positions that are, in place and planned?
Sure. So we have a pretty robust program to support dual language learners. We call them dual language learners because all 4-year-olds really are learning English and their home languages simultaneously. No one has arrived yet in their language development at age 4. And so we currently have 1.5 teacher positions to support the 4-year-olds with English language development. And we are hoping, and it is intended in our school budget, to add to those positions so that we'll have more capacity to better serve the needs of our students who are new to school and new to English. We also in the district have in our buildings language facilitation ed techs who often speak the languages of multiples of the children in our buildings. So they're also accessible to our pre-K programs for support. So I feel really confident and competent that in our pre-K programs, we see having a second or third or fourth language as a huge asset rather than a deficit. And so we're really excited about this potential for increasing our support for the English language development of our students who already are coming in with great language skills in their own native language or languages.
Let me just add a little bit to that. I think, Sue, I don't remember if we have 3 additional positions were proposed in this year's budget for
3.5. Yeah.
3.5 additional positions. So that would bring us to 5. And then I think the other piece is, first of all, acknowledge that there is always room for us to do more and to do better. And I think that is obviously at the base of your question, Vanusa. But the other thing that I'll say as part of our budget is to recognize our employees who, because of their identities, are able to do work that is unique to them, and to acknowledge that by compensating them at a different level. And so that is also a part of what we've proposed, so that our staff who are speakers of other languages that are valuable because those identities, that's their identity and that's what they bring, is something that we're looking to be able to compensate differently from people that are, that are doing that same level of work, but don't bring those attributes and skills. So I think that is something that we're doing as part of, both recognizing that in those individuals and also saying to our students and families that we value what these individuals bring to the point that we are willing to compensate it differently. And I don't know, Grace or Maureen, if you guys wanted to talk just briefly about how people can access that, because I hear also in Vanusa's question, concern about how do we communicate this to multiple, audiences, and obviously that's super complicated in that.
Sure, I can take a stab at that. Thank you for your question, Vanusa. As a district, we have a language access program where we provide interpretation, translation for our families who speak languages other than English. I think the challenge with our 0 to 5 families is the ones we don't know yet. So typically we know the families if you already have children in school, and we can let you know about our pre-K program and everything that's available. But sometimes it's hard for us to find the new families who we may not know yet, don't have school-age children. But we have the multilingual office. Anyone can call us, 874-8135, and we will help you get the information you need and the language that you need it in. We also use Facebook and WhatsApp as another mechanism to spread the word to our families who have a language other than English. So lots of times it's just getting connected to one of us somewhere in the school district, and we'll make sure that you receive the information that you need. I also would like to say that a few years ago, we started a program to support students in school with language support. So even this year in pre-K, there were a couple instances where we had newcomer students who were really struggling to participate in the classroom because their first language wasn't English. And we were able to provide language support to those students for a short time, maybe a few weeks, just to get them started and to understand what's happening in the day at school, preschool, and lots of it is the same day after day, and teachers use similar techniques. So once the kids learn the routine, it really helps. So we have added that program, and we provide that resource. If the school doesn't have a language ed tech in that language, we will find help for them to make sure that that language support is provided. So there are lots of things that the multilingual office can help with, and our goal is to make sure that all families have access to the information they need and the language that they need it in. So please reach out to us for that information.
Tara, I just want to remind people that we have 3 minutes left, and that there is in the chat, maybe Nanette, you want to post it again, the feedback session, evaluation form. It's a Google form. So if you don't mind completing that, this is how we get information in terms of how well we did, not just that, but also other kinds of information that you may be interested in hearing about in the future. So just want to make sure we're on time, because I know that it's difficult for our interpreter to do longer than an hour and a half.
Yes, thank you so much for having all of us on tonight, and to Portland Public Schools for hosting Parent University and engaging with parents. I want to encourage all the parents who participated to keep staying engaged, keep asking questions. One thing that we talk about a lot in the world of education and in early childhood is that, the importance of all of us working together. As your child's primary caregiver, their first and most important teacher, we really do all need to work together on behalf of our children. And I can tell from our panel tonight that you have a committed group of early educators and leaders in Portland and across the state. And we have so much that we can do when we keep in conversation and we keep working together on behalf of our children. So thank you so much, Sue, and Superintendent Botana and Portland Public Schools for putting this together. I really enjoyed getting to moderate tonight and be here with all the panelists. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.
And thank you to the parents for coming. I noticed that we have a lot of multilingual parents on the panel, on the audience tonight. So thank you very much for coming. It seems to me that this is an important topic to you. So that's great to know for us.
Thanks very much, everyone.